Coming up on Refresh Cinema.
He took some of Chip's advice.
Yeah.
And it was going well with her. Like, they had a date and everything.
Yeah. They watched Sleepless in Seattle, which,
Yeah.
Jess, speaking as a representative for all women around the world.
Yes.
Is Sleepless in Seattle, does everybody love that movie? Because
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
I was raised on Mothman. What do you want me to do?
Hey everybody, welcome to Refresh Cinema. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Jess. And today we are talking about The Cable Guy.
Good ball.
Okay, maybe you're right.
No, don't patronize me. I don't need that.
Which is one of my favorite movies. I probably watched it way too young and didn't really realize what was happening. So The Cable Guy basically delves into a relationship between two strangers, Jim Carrey and
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. I cannot recall their characters' names.
It doesn't matter. They're Matthew Broderick. They're the kind of actors that it doesn't matter what they're, except for Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
He's just Matthew Broderick in whatever he does. So
True. And the basic premise is that Matthew Broderick proposed to his girlfriend. She said no, so he's on his own now.
Yeah.
And he needs to get his cable set up. And who comes knocking on his door to do that but Jim Carrey, who has a few I don't want to say boundary issues. He does not recognize boundaries.
Yes.
It's said that he has BPD.
Possibility, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
Borderline personality disorder. by the way.
Yeah. That's our guess. We're not medical professionals. We're
That's
not
what
making.
the Google says.
The Google says okay.
And the therapists who have watched it assume.
Ah.
I'm not sure if anyone came right out and said it.
Okay, yeah. No one in the movie says it, but yeah.
So
Because we're dealing with a character. This was a unique character for Jim Carrey at the time because up until that point, he'd always been playing the hero, or at least the protagonist. You know, like The Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber. But in this one, he's the antagonist. He's kind of the bad guy, but he doesn't. He's the kind of bad guy he doesn't see himself as a bad guy. He's just. We'll get into it, but he's just kind of lonely and unaware of how he's interacting with people, you know.
He forms an immediate attachment to Matthew Broderick's character. So Matthew Broderick's friend, played by Jack Black, says, you know, I've heard that if you slip the cable guy 50, he'll give you free channels. Matthew Broderick tries this, and Jim Carrey, the way he plays his sense of humor, he's all laughs and joking, and then Matthew brings up the joke, and this is a crime. You could spend 50 years in prison or something or other, like very serious.
Yeah.
And then he's, no, I'm just kidding. Here you go. And then he says, so something like, to make it up to me, you know, let's hang out.
Yeah, he does that all the time.
I'm just joking with you.
That's his thing.
And he's always throwing out like these really awkward and sometimes inappropriate jokes. And that's just his whole like personality, because he's not just a cable guy as his job. That his whole personality is television. And he acts in a way that like a sitcom character would act, which would make sense in a sitcom or something. But in the real world, that's the guy that you like hope you don't run into in the hallway when you're at your apartment, you know, like he's technically harmless, but he's just really awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's trying to do all these grand gestures to keep his newfound friendship with Matthew Broderick, and Matthew's kind of like, he's entertaining it. He's trying to sort of like shove him off, and he ends up telling Cable Guy that, you know, my girlfriend left me, and so now it's his sole mission to get them back together by any means possible.
Yeah, and he already knew that they were separated because he checked his cable
and
packages.
saw that he had moved.
Yeah. So Jim Carrey's like, at first he's like, oh wow, this guy's really thorough with his job, and then later is just like, no, there's ulterior motives for this. Yeah. Because every time he tries to like interact with him, like something. Like, he gives him the free cable. He gets the free cable.
That's his foot in the door.
Yeah.
But his showmanship of friendship just escalates and becomes invasive very quickly.
Yeah. Because, like, there's one scene where Matthew Broderick, he's like at the gym. He's playing basketball with his friends. Jack Black is there. And then Jim Carrey, who tells him his name is Chip Douglas, shows up out of nowhere.
You guys play here too?
Weird.
I was just out and about.
Like all the other guys are just wearing like t-shirts and like you could call them gym shorts. But Jim Carrey, he's got the sweatband. He's got like the blue tee.
He's so into it.
Yeah, he's and the way he dresses, and I'll mention later as we go on, but he doesn't dress like a modern man. There's moments throughout the movie where it's like his fashion seems more 70s and 60s, which makes sense because he keeps bringing up like old television shows. But anyway, they're in the gym and he's like, "You guys are here too?" And right off the bat, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my
cable guy.
My cable guy is my friend Chip Douglas," and right, and that was the weird part. And they play basketball, and Jim Carrey
so uncomfortably.
Yeah.
And it really sets the tone when they're done with the scene because Chip smashes the glass to the basketball thing.
The backboard, yeah.
The backboard of the hoop. And Jack Black is like, "This fucking guy. No, Matthew Broderick, stay away."
Because he wrecks the whole thing, because it's wrecked now.
It's ruined. They can't play anymore.
Yeah, because he uses Jack Black as a springboard, leaps off him, and he does like the full, Jim Carrey and his iconic rubber face. He's all like, slams it down, and they do the whole thing in slow-mo. The glass is like shattering all around. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's not even like,
it's such like, in the grand scheme of things, seeing what he does later, it is a minimal invasion of privacy, but this is the scene that sets the tone, like, okay, this is how it's going to be, and then it only escalates further.
Yeah, and it's not even like the first time they hang out, because the first thing they do to hang out after oh, I help you get free cable, your girlfriend came over to hang out and stuff like that, he takes him to the giant satellite dish that beams, which is funny, it's a satellite dish, but it's cable. I get it. I get there's still signals going out, but the irony, just which it takes him to this giant satellite dish, and they just hang out and they talk and they bond a little bit.
And he gives solid dating advice.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I don't think you listen to her. I think you try to tell her what she wants to hear. She wants you to thirst for knowledge about who she is. All the complicated splendor that is woman. When your love is truly giving, it will come back to you tenfold.
From Jerry Springer.
Yeah, he does quote Jerry Springer.
Yeah, because he has no personality outside of any knowledge or wisdom he has comes from TV in one way or another, and it's just crazy. But their craziest hangout, which leads to my favorite moment in the movie.
They go to medieval times.
Yeah. And this movie was, as a kid, my introduction to medieval. I was unaware of the place because where we live, we don't have the medieval times.
And for those who are not familiar, it is a entertainment place where you can see jousting on horses and all this good medieval stuff. Yeah. And when you sit and you eat, you're in an arena style.
Yeah. It's basically they took a Renaissance fair and packed it inside a restaurant.
Yeah.
So they're there and they're having fun. There's this one moment where Jim Carrey takes some I think it's turkey or chicken skin puts it on his
face and he does that. He does Clarice, right?
Yeah, he does Silence of the Lambs.
Hello, Clarice. It's good to see you again.
And Matthew Broderick is smiling. He's kind of laughing in that moment. And I don't think that was his character. I think that was really Matthew Broderick cracking.
Was breaking character.
Yeah.
It had to be.
Yeah, because Jim Carrey, once he made himself known, because Jim Carrey he was first known for In Living Color. And then he had an amazing year, which I could be wrong, but I think Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all came out within the same year or year and a half.
Yeah.
And they were all hits. He had 3 massive hits in one year that launched him to
Kardashian status.
Kardashian
what
status.
You're trying to say.
His face was more rubbery than their asses. No, I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
It's okay.
No,
it's not rubber, it's silicone.
Oh, my bad. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Sorry.
Yeah. But he was famous for like people who started working would start putting blanks in his script where Jim could just improv, and I assume that's an improv moment because it just felt like Matthew Broderick was really cracking, and it wasn't his character.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
because he really plays this straight man.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing, like Matthew Broderick has almost zero comedic relief. Like
because it's hard when you're working up against Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
The guy is a tornado of ha-has and he-he's.
Hi. Is there a problem with your service?
Yeah, my cable is out.
Really?
And oh god, the jousting scene.
Yeah, because like it turns out all the knights are also preferred customers, and they let him and Matthew Broderick dress up, and Matthew Broderick doesn't know this.
Yeah, the scene sets where they just say over the loudspeaker, and now it's time for two of our audience members to join us and joust, and their names are called, and Matthew Broderick says, "Do they usually do this?" Yeah. And Jim Carrey's like, "No, I give them all free cable," essentially paraphrased, and it's incredible.
Yeah, and the king, or I guess the lord, is played by Andy Dick. So they start out with like they go like swords and shields, and Jim Carrey's just coming crazy at him, and Matthew Broderick just shields bash them out of the way, and then the best part is, and then they give him these two weapons where it's like a blunt end and like a scissor end, and Jim Carrey's like, he's like when Kirk fought Spock in Star Trek. And he starts doing the music. It's the best, funniest damn scene in the movie.
Oh my god! And then the movie itself brings in the actual music, and it coincides with Jim Carrey doing it, and it all just is so intense.
Yeah.
And then they have to switch to the friggin' horses.
You're crying right now.
I'm crying a little bit. And Matthew Broderick's trying to get out of it. And the guys who work there are like, I don't think he's kidding. You need to get on this horse right now.
Yeah. But and here's the thing, you know this. I've been a Star Trek fan since I was a kid. But the original series, I wasn't running on television at the time. I saw this before I saw the original series. So when I finally saw the episode they were referencing, I just immediately thought of the cable guy.
You just lost your shit.
Because the weapons they use in that scene they are the weapons used in the Star Trek episode. They recreated them. I'm assuming this is something they came up with ahead of time. This couldn't be just a coincidence. They just happened to have those same weapons.
Yeah.
Because they don't look like medieval style weapons. They look like something a little more exotic. But anyway, so they actually they joust. They get on the real effing horses with real jousting sticks.
The whole dang thing. And they're having some sort of like heated discussion while they're going past each other on the horses.
Yeah. There's like a battle. This is a battle to the death or something. And Matthew Broderick's like, no, it's not. It's like, yes, it is. No, it's not. And they
battle to the death. No, yes. No, yes.
Yeah. And Matthew Broderick wins. He gets him with the lance.
It's a very intense.
Yeah.
But he flies off of his horse.
Yeah.
Does Jim Carrey have any good one-liners once he gets knocked off his horse? He said something, and I feel like he said something, and I lost my mind.
You are the victor. But we will meet again.
But then Jim Carrey surprises him because while they were gone, I guess he had another preferred customer break into Matthew Broderick's apartment and leave a big screen TV, and I'm talking like this is before flat screen, so there's a big ass like boxy flat screen TV, a speaker system that looked like what freaking Aerosmith would use on one of their stage shows, and just like a giant karaoke machine. And Matthew Broderick's like, yo, this is too much, man. This is way too much.
Take it back.
Yeah, he's take it back, and then Jim Carrey's like, well, my guy won't be free till Saturday, so can you wait till Saturday? And he's like, fine.
Oh, and I do also want to add that with his lisp, throughout, like, from the beginning, Matthew Broderick says, like, my cousin is a speech therapist or something, and he's trying to help. Yeah. He's trying to help the cable guy from the beginning.
Yeah, as someone who you probably have picked up, I do have a lisp. I've had one. I have an underbite, so mine is like, I can't help it. I had a speech therapist as a kid. She was great, but I just, I kind of like, I get it, yeah. But then it turns out that the girlfriend, Robin,
Matthew Broderick's ex-girlfriend, who he took some of Chip's advice And it was going well with her. Like, they had a date and everything.
Yeah. They watched Sleepless in Seattle, which,
Yeah.
Jess, speaking as a representative for all women around the world.
Yes.
Is Sleepless in Seattle, does everybody love that movie? Because
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
I was raised on Mothman. What do you want me to do? Sorry. Winnie the Pooh and Mothman.
Sleepless with Mothman. Okay.
All right, I'll watch that.
All right. So she decides to go on a date, which throws Matthew Broderick off because they were like, they're on
With Owen Wilson.
With Owen
who
Wilson.
plays a bag.
Oh God, he is.
He plays a beep beep beep. And Jim Carrey is like, this does not fly. I gotta help my boy.
Yeah. Well, we gotta get to like the part that sets off Lisa into motion because he doesn't just So she tells Broderick that I'm going on a date, and he's thrown off by that because he's like, okay, I thought we were on a break, but didn't mean break as in we can see other people.
Yeah.
So Jim Carrey's like, hey man, let's have a banger party before we have to return all the karaoke and big screen TV stuff. I'm going to invite all my preferred customers. We're going to have a great time. And once again, they show up, and Jim Carrey, he's dressed like he just came from Woodstock. Like he's got like the frilled jacket, and he's got like the Egyptian ankh thing hanging. Yeah. And a lot of his preferred customers are elderly people. Like there's a few people in their like 20s or 30s or 40s, but he's noticing like a lot of his preferred customers are, like old people, probably because he can talk to them about the Andy Griffith Show or something like that, which no disrespect, my dad, he still watches the Andy Griffith Show, but you get the sense that like, okay, he hangs out with a crowd that he can relate to because they watched old television. Because we find out at one point in the movie that he's raised on television. His
mother was absent,
Yep.
more or less. Father was not in the picture,
Yeah.
clearly.
When will I get a brother? You said I was gonna get a brother to play with.
And she didn't afford a babysitter, so she just sat him in front of a television, and he would just watch TV all day, all night. So he never had like proper human interaction as a child, which explains why he's probably very awkward, and he doesn't know what real actual relationships are, but that just leads to like his behavior, which is like really funny, but I'm not condoning it. It's just odd behavior. But anyway, so they have the big party with all the preferred customers. They're doing a karaoke jam and all that stuff, and they see this hot chick at the party, and keep in mind, Jim Carrey, aka Chip Douglas, he invited everybody, but he doesn't seem to know this woman. And she's checking out Matthew Broderick, and they hit it off, so they go somewhere quiet to talk, the bedroom, while Jim Carrey
is doing the best rendition you will ever see in your life. Don't you want somebody to love?
When the truth is found to be lying.
He goes off.
It's beautiful. You have to watch it. Please watch it.
Yeah, it's great. I wouldn't be surprised if we can find it on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
It's great. But anyway.
And you also see the complete lack of awareness when Matthew Broderick is getting frisky with this woman in the bedroom, and Chip comes in and takes a picture.
Yeah, a Polaroid with everybody coming in. It's like, look, they're making love, or like they're getting wow. I can't remember what he says. So him and the woman, they have some alone time. We wake up the next morning, and Chip is there making breakfast in Matthew Broderick's apartment. Once again, no boundaries.
Everybody else is gone.
Yeah. Matthew Broderick's okay with it, though. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, man, it was a great night. I really like that girl. And it's like,
And Chip says, I bought this time, you buy next time. She was a woman of the night.
Yes, we find out that she was a prostitute. That not only did Chip pay to come to the party to have sex with Matthew Broderick.
I checked her out about a week ago.
Make sure she was top quality. And I'm healthy as a horse, not a drip.
Like, or something like that. And then Matthew Broderick naturally freaks out because he thought he had, some. Yeah. And then he's like, because here's the thing, like, I want to make clear, I got nothing against sex workers or anything like that, but if you're gonna, you should know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because like, he can't trust what Chip is saying for all, who this woman's been with. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
So that causes a breakup where now Chip is gonna like, I gotta make it right. I can make it better. Like I'm doing such a weird creep. I feel like
I'm loving it.
Okay.
Yeah, because Matthew Broderick is like, WTF is wrong with you, dude?
Yeah.
So then Chip's like, I have to mend what I have broken.
Yeah.
And he goes to crash the date with Owen Wilson, just a total pjerk.
Oh, yeah. He's doing on a little playing like, I'm totally interested in what you're saying. He's saying that, but he's not acting like it. Like, he's just trying to...
He's rude to the wait staff.
Yeah.
If you're ever on a date and someone is rude to the wait staff, just leave.
Yeah.
Because you don't... Or if you are that person, also just leave and never come out of your house again.
Yeah.
Sorry, as a former server / bartender...
No...
Owen Wilson played a jerk beautifully.
But, it was very believable. Yeah.
And Chip goes and pretends to be a bathroom attendant.
Yeah.
And he gives him a good old swirly, knocks him around a little bit. Yeah. It makes the news.
I know. I love how later Matthew Broderick's watching the news and they have like the sketch artist did to Jim Carrey, and he just looks like evil Freddie Mercury or something. So yeah, that happens. Then also Chip goes to Robin, the girlfriend. Because he finds out where she lives.
Oh yeah.
And he gives her free cable, but says it's from Matthew Broderick.
And she's like, "Oh my God, free cable from Matthew Broderick." So she's like, "Wow." And Chip goes, "Yeah, he's crazy over you. He never stops talking about you." So he's mending. He's trying to mend the relationship.
Yeah, which might not be a bad idea if it wasn't for the assault in the bathroom.
Yeah, let's not skimp over that.
Matthew Broderick goes over to Robin's place so that she wants to talk, and Chip is there waiting for him outside of her apartments. And Matthew Broderick's just like, "Hey man, listen, I got to work on my relationship. I don't got time for new friends." And Chip's like,
"So, what are you trying to say?" "I don't want to be your friend."
And he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then we go into he goes into full, not he's technically already there, but now we go into higher level stalker mode.
And revenge mode.
Yeah. Only things he starts messing with him. And we found out he had secretly been recording. Yeah.
Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
In his own home.
Yeah, he put a little spy cam under his coffee table and catches him recording, talking crap on his boss. Who
sends it to his boss.
Yeah, well, he sends it to the whole office. Yeah. The whole office gets it. He calls the cops. One of the cops is a preferred customer. We see him at the party.
Oh, do we?
Oh, it's real briefly. You see him at the party. He shows up with his partner, and they arrest Matthew Broderick because of the karaoke equipment.
But I didn't accept any stolen goods. Deluxe karaoke machine. She.
Big screen TV.
It was all stolen, and it was for accepting stolen equipment.
Yeah, that happens to him, and he tells his lawyer, you got to find the cable guy. And he's like, I called the cable company. They don't have a guy called Chip Douglas. And he's like, it doesn't exist. And he's like, what? Yeah. And he makes friends with Robin and everything, and gets himself invited to Matthew Broderick's family get-together.
How does he pull that?
Well, apparently he got real tight with Robin real quick.
He builds up Matthew Broderick in Robin's mind, and then says, "Oh, and I'm one of his best friends ever," and then in he goes. Yeah.
And so they're at the party, and he's like, "I'm going to tell everybody who you are." And then, so he pulls out a picture, the Polaroid picture he took of him and the prostitute. Now, keep in mind a couple things. They're not naked in the picture. They're just obviously just kind of touching each other's stuff, and they're in a weird position. But they're not naked or anything like that. I would have looked right at Chip and be like, Robin went out on a date. She can't be angry at me if I was with another woman while she was also looking at another guy. I would have told him, go ahead, show him.
Yeah.
Freaking show him. I've been I know that's too much thinking it, and because he's setting him up as blackmail, but it's she went out on a date, go show him. Tell him.
Yeah, fine.
I'm going to tell everybody who the you are.
Yeah.
Because, and he's dressed like Mr. Rogers. I forgot to mention
he's wearing this nice sweater. He's a little cute patootie.
Yeah,
His little sweater.
Yeah. And they're at dinner, and he's telling the story of medieval times. It's been making it out look like Matthew Broderick was being unreasonable the whole time, and he wins him over. He's so funny and charming.
And the family is just enamored with Chip.
Yeah.
They adore him.
Yeah. But then they play Porno Password, where Jim Carrey teams up with Robin, the girlfriend, and Matthew Broderick is teaming up with his mom, which he doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play pornographic game with his mom where they have to guess porn words or whatever.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with him, but his whole family is like, oh, she's an adult, she can do it. I'm just like,
fine.
no way. I'm sorry. To each their own. Family dynamics are different with each family. There's no way I'm gonna have my mom guess. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. Everyone's gotten, but we don't gotta talk about it. Not me and my mom. I don't. The only time that stuff ever happens is if my mom hears a slang word and she doesn't understand what it means, and then I have to explain it to her.
Yeah.
I think we've all been through that, where your parents hear something, they say something, and you got to be like, "Do you understand what that means?" I've been in that situation, and that's as far as I ever want to take it.
At your family's Thanksgiving, and they kept calling people Jack. Like, yeah, he was. I'm like, ugh.
Jag-offs.
Jag off in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Or like jagging someone off means that like you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
Or something. But some people say off instead.
Yeah. It comes all across a little screwy. Just a tad.
A little screw. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a fun Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. They get to the point where Matthew Broderick doesn't want to play anymore. He's like, screw this. And he tries to like tell everyone like he's a felon, he's the bad guy, but nobody will believe him because they think that Matthew Broderick is like he's going through like a dark time.
He just got out of jail.
Everything. Chip's
and he's losing his job, obviously.
Yeah. So he punches Chip, and everybody's just like, I guess it was like his brother or brother-in-law. He like punches Chip, and the one guy's like, "What's wrong with you, man?" Or
What the hell is wrong with you, man?
Says something like that. It's just a great delivery. And everyone thinks Matthew Broderick's nuts now. But then Chip leaves. He goes, and then finally we get some information.
Jack Black coming through.
Yeah. Do you want to do this? Because I've been going off for a bit.
You're fine. So Jack Black did some digging.
Yeah.
I don't know how he has the resources he has, but he finds the information on Chip being fired and his previous aliases, and they determine it's all names from television shows.
Bingo! My 3 sons. Chip and Ernie Douglas.
And TV series.
Yeah, because he says like Larry, it's like Larry Tate or something, which was the boss from Bewitched.
Yeah.
And Chip Douglas is from like My 3 Sons, and apparently he does this all the time. He used to work for the cable company, and they fired him because Matthew Broderick is far from the only person he became obsessed with. And then Matthew Broderick has this nightmare where Jim Carrey in like this like metallic suit is trying to break into the apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got like yellow green eyes. He's like, and the classic chasing down the hallway that never ends until it gets too small. It all comes to a head where Chip takes Robin to the same satellite dish. Oh, wait, before we get to that, we got to talk about the subplot with the trial going on. So Ben Stiller, who I think directed the movie.
Yeah.
Directed the movie. He plays a character that is accused of killing his brother. And
his twin brother.
His twin brother, which they were child stars on like a fake TV show they made up for it. Sam Sweet is his name, and I can't remember what the brother's name is. But it's like, and I get it, because even as a kid, it made sense, because the 90s had some big, like, nationally televised big trials. I mean, there's a little bit of O.J. Simpson trial in there. There's definitely some John Benet Ramsey trial stuff, because they play the recording where he claims, it's like,
I think it was an Asian gang or something. I saw someone, he looked Asian.
Which is totally a callback to the John Benet Ramsey trial when her parents kept saying there was some Latino guy that came, that they think it was like, they kept repeating, but they didn't describe how he looked outside of being Latino. So I totally understand, they were totally poking fun of that.
Tonight on UPN, the trial that's captured the nation.
So we know who Jim Carrey really, or we know what he's about now. We don't know what his real name is. And then he calls Matthew Broderick to, and he's like, I know about the cable company. I know that they fired you. You're not a real cable guy. And he's like, whatever, we could have been friends, but you can't, but you had to be stupid. So then he's like, but don't worry, I'm going to take good care of Robin. And Matthew Broderick's like, don't touch her. So he drives over to her apartment, and she's not there. Her neighbor's like, she just left with a man from the cable company. And he's like, where did they go? And she's, I think he said something about surfing the information superhighway.
Now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
Which is what he said when he took Matthew Broderick to the giant satellite dish. So he knows where he is. So he heads to the giant satellite dish. So they get there, and Robin is like just out of a movie, is like hung up on a rope in the middle of the satellite dish, tied up. Like, Matthew Broderick climbs, he gets up on the dish, and the dish is partially filled with water because it's raining heavily.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, Jim Carrey pops out of like a hatch or something. And like slip and slide straight into Matthew Broderick, like, ah! And they have a little tussle in the water, and Matthew Broderick doesn't win the initial fight, so he somehow. How did? I'm gonna get. No, don't get nitpicky about how one man was able to tie her up and string her up. Don't get nitpicky, Vincent. Don't do it. So they get
there. I hardly know her. There's your answer.
They climb to the top of the tower. Matthew Broderick isn't far behind. He's like, waking up. The cops are now there. Cars are pulling up. The helicopter. Yeah. And all this time, just in the background, just the Sam Sweet murder trial is reaching its conclusion, and like the verdict is about to come out.
They're showing everyone at the bars, in their homes. Everyone's gathering to watch the verdict.
Yeah. So they're fighting. Like, Jim Carrey doesn't have a gun. He has a staple gun, and he fires a few shots at Matthew Broderick. And they get to the top, and he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's your plan? And he's like, I don't have a plan as such. I'm just kind of winging it. And then the helicopter shows up. Robin gets out of Jim Carrey's arms, goes over to Matthew Broderick. And then the light of the helicopter causes Jim Carrey to have like a realization moment. And he just realized like, oh, I screwed up. This is my fault. I messed it up, And he has a moment where he's like, the light is representing his mom from heaven because that's what happens in movies.
Yeah.
And he calls his mom out. It's like,
you were never there for me, were you, Mother?
And you start to have a little bit of sympathy for him, just to like, you don't condone anything he's done.
Well, I mean, also, he does have borderline personality disorder, most likely. He's untreated, mentally unwell.
Yeah.
And which, like, I think at the time when you watch it, in the 90s at least, society is much different. So we look at it now and we're like, the system failed this guy real hard.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Real hard.
Yeah.
So,
that's something we always when we're looking at older movies, the how it handles mental illness of any kind, like for instance, the classic split personality disorder. I blacked out and evil me came out and slaughtered a family of possums or something. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But we've actually had some good representation of like the Marvel show Moon Knight, which dealt with dissociative identity disorder, split personality thing. Apparently a lot of people who actually have that said it actually represented them really well in terms of how it works. Good. With some exceptions, but they said that's actually pretty good.
So he's having this moment. He's like, Mom.
And he decides, dramatic ending. He's going to jump off the tower and dive straight into the satellite dish.
And impale himself on the sticky thingy.
Yeah, on like the point. Like there's like a spike on it. I guess it's supposed to be like the signal point or whatever.
Yeah.
And Matthew Broderick tries to save him. He's like, no, don't do it.
We can be friends.
Yeah. Not really, though. He's probably just going to be like, we're going to get you a doctor, bro.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, like, I have to do this.
Somebody has to kill the babysitter.
Referring to the TV because that's what his mom called it. And he's like, oh. And it's like in the Sam Sweet trial's playing. And it's like, and the verdict of the Sam Sweet murder trial is, and then crash takes out the tip of the satellite. Television sets all across California go down. Nothing but fuzz. And we have a nice little moment where some guy just living by himself is like, oh. But then he opens a book and has a moment of joy.
There's just this magical music playing.
Little harp.
No TV, now education.
Yeah. But then it turns out he just barely missed the spike. And he's
right beside it.
Yeah, he might have a broken back, but he's alive. And then he does like a quote from like an old cop show. I forget which old cop show. Like Car 51, I think it was, or something. I'm probably wrong.
Squad 51, man down. Possible back injury.
Then they say their last words to him, and then they ask like, what's your real name? And Jim Carrey's like, then he's like, Ricardo, Ricky Ricardo. And they takes him off in the plane, and the EMH in the helicopter is like, it's gonna be okay, pal. You're gonna be fine, buddy. And he's like,
am I really your buddy?
And he says, yeah, sure you are. Over the sound of the helicopter, and Jim Carrey just does like, he's like dark little grin, like, ooh, and then it's starting all over again. Cable Guy 2, and that's Cable Guy. Oh, I watched this movie so many times as a kid. I was a Jim Carrey dude. Like as a kid,
me too.
He could do no. If he was in it, I was probably gonna watch it.
Yep.
Because I think he was just like one of my foundations of like comedy from like probably him and Robin Williams growing up, because I loved Robin Williams in Aladdin and Mrs. Doubtfire. We're gonna do Mrs. Doubtfire someday.
Hello. Yeah. The sheer absurdity.
Yeah.
Of it all.
Yeah. He did crazy as well. He still does. Jim Carrey still got it. He's still in the Sonic movies where he plays the bad guy. He still got the physicality and all that.
Yeah.
Jim. I watched this movie a ton of times as a kid. I'm glad we've revisited it.
Yes.
So good. Yeah.
What a great movie. What's your rating? Kyle says we should start rating.
Oh.
Yeah.
I will give it. Because I do believe like some of the laughter kind of falls off a little bit in the third act. Because once he's in full stalker mode, he's still being goofy and stuff. But it's not quite as funny in the third act. If that's the one,
it's not really a comedy.
It's a dark comedy. I would call it a dark comedy parody of like the stalker genre.
Yeah.
So, because there's plenty of laughs in the first and second act. I think the laughs fall off a little bit in third. So I would give this one. I think like a 7.5 or an 8.
Nice. That's where I'm at with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the way the comedy falls off, it sort of aligns with how he's just escalating. It's getting more serious. It's not fun and games anymore.
Oh yeah. And I get it because he's supposed to be like creepy and stocky at this point. But after all the goofiness we saw in the first two, it's just like, hey, he's like, it's kind of hard to take him fully seriously as a stalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah. Oh, the system failed, old Chip Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah. That'd be the funny thing. I wonder if like anyone's ever asked Jim Carrey or like Ben Stiller, like, so what's his real name? It's like, but I'm assuming they never came up with a real name. There's just like, he's the Cable Guy. That's his real name. It's like the Doctor in Doctor Who. What's his real name? Doesn't matter. He's the Doctor.
Yes.
He's the Cable Guy. And he came back as the character recently.
Did he?
In a DirecTV commercial where the Cable Guy finds that DirecTV is so good that he kind of gives up on cable, and now he's a satellite man.
What?
Yeah. I think it was a Super Bowl commercial from like a couple years ago or something. But yeah, he dyed his hair all dark like in the movie because Jim Carrey's more of like a brown haired. But yeah, so that was fun. But Cable Guy, and this will probably be far from the last Jim Carrey movie we discussed.
Oh, yeah.
Sooner or later we'll get to Ace Ventura and
The Mask.
I love The Mask.
I mean, Cameron Diaz.
Oh,
that's why we're really watching The Mask.
Yes. She's coming out of retirement now. She was retired for a few years.
Yeah, she's coming back to us.
That's great. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So, guys, The Cable Guy. Did you grow up watching it? Have you ever seen it? Let us know down in the comments how you feel about it.
All right, and we end it with
high five.
High five.